Hello everyone, Switch over here. This is another love story update. For the next couple of days, or maybe for the rest of the week, there won't be any more love stories to be posted on my channel. But here's the reason why. Because for the past few days, and even for the past last week, I had even been working on much of love story or love stories or true friend stories. And the reason why, when I actually had a folder on my computer where I store all those stories that I had been done that was been waiting to be posted to my channel or uploaded, I say. And I had at least in that particular folder was around maybe 10 plus or maybe nearly close to 20 stories. But since I actually remembered that some of the stories had already been posted, so I had to go back to my channel to check every single one of the in the folder just to see if any of those stories had been posted or not. And it turned out 99.9% of all the stories that had been posted or in the folder were already been uploaded on my channel. And I was surprised that I even had any other stories that hasn't even been uploaded yet. So what that means, so for next couple of days, as there won't be any other love stories being posted, is the reasons that I lack of any new love stories to be made. But I will tell you all this though. I will be trying to work on new stories, mostly bit more. Majority will be text and music, but there will be a few other stories. It would be either true friend or true love stories. I haven't even decided for which side of what type of stories yet, or which characters, but I can tell from one of the stories I have been planning to work on is in fact a story with Applejack, and other one was I asked by about last week, Sonic with Twilight, to be like 28 minutes long. That story will be made, and I had even thought about doing some of Travis Bell's previous request from last year, Side Twilight with Fluttershy Equestria Girls version. Even since he asked me to do that as an audio story, I decided not to do it as an audio. I decided to do as with text and music. But that was long before I just thought considered why not just search if there's any other good pictures for them together when I then discovered one picture that gave me an entire storyline in mind. And that story though, I'm not also certain exactly how long that would be. Then of course there are some other stories I had in mind, like Pinky with Chrysalis, and of course I had even around close to up to 270 or at least to 260 plus uh, some ideas that my girlfriend had found so that have been placed in my email. I know that many wonders what next story to be uploaded, but that I can't tell right at the moment. I just don't know which story to be up, since the only one that is I have still only have one more story that will be posted. And that in fact is the only one that hasn't been posted yet. And that is in fact Sun's Shimmer with Roseluck. I mean that there are so many other stories that I have been want to be doing, but since for the past couple of days I have been occupied with something else, and I actually when I came across my mind, why not doing a love story? But then I realized the time was maybe as close to 9, between 9 or maybe 11 p.m. And doing that as an audio at that story at that time isn't that good one because since my parents go to bed around, well, around midnight or something like that, so I prefer not to be recording stories by that time. But I can still do love stories with text and music. And in fact, There is one story that I had been put on hold for quite some time now, and that is actually a Star Wars crossover with Halo game between John 117 the Spartan, which I came up with on my own, but that is more the details from that part of the story though. Despite this, there are so many stories I want to be doing, but that even came to my mind if I were to try to focus on all the love stories or true friend stories that with both music and text, I thought to myself, if I try to do as much story as possible before that I can be re put more stories to be on my channel, I have been thinking maybe those stories will be most 15 to maybe 20 minutes long. Rather from those I usually do from 20 to maybe 30 minutes long. But that is also depending, of course, first of all, from which story of between characters. I know that there are many, many potential stories that I still want to be doing, and some other stories that I have been want to be doing. Even though that many still ask me to do their love stories for them, and yes, and for a moment, there won't be any more stories to be posted just for time being, because I need to make some more stories. Because if I don't have any stories saved in my folders, that means no more stories to be posted, and people probably start asking me why I hadn't even been posted any stories for quite some time. And here the answer: since since I have been occupied my work, well, mostly, and since I am, how to say, a night owl, since I can be, um, well, let's say I am have been messed up my sleep cycle for most part. I can go to bed when I don't work. I can go to bed around maybe 4, 5, or maybe 8 a.m. and go up and get wakes up the next same day around noon or maybe 1 p.m. and go back to sleep the next day maybe around 5 to maybe 8 a.m. depending, of course. I know that is a messed up of my sleep cycle, but I had always been a night owl person or a night person for several years by now. But nevertheless, the stories I am planning to do is, for the moment, not to be in disclosure, or at least to be revealing. Since I had even decided from which stories to be doing it. The only ones I do know what I'm going to plan is one with Applejack, and of course the one with Sonic and Twilight, which I'm hopefully been doing maybe tomorrow or maybe on Thursday, depending of course. But I really hope that I'll be able to do maybe two or maybe three stories and perhaps each day. But if I will be able to do maybe four stories, maybe those stories, most majority will be audio stories. Since audio recording takes less than time, much frequent, takes more quicker to do, since those stories never, that I mean, never has a script. Because when I record those love stories or true friend stories in audio, they actually came to my mind as I speaking it. So I don't have any script of those stories. And even those stories were love stories with text and music, they don't even have any script either. Because that is also when I came down to me when I seen the picture that tells me or speaks to me at least that gives me potential what can happen. So, and even though that mentioned though, despite of those next coming up comic stories that we'll be doing, is it is possible a majority of those will probably have one picture, depending of course from what type of story that I have been planning to do. So there's even another one I have to plan to do, Spike with Pinkie Pie. I know that there are many stories more that I could do, but I cannot say for certain at the moment how many more stories that I will be able to do. But since I have more free time on my after that get home from work, but I can't say at the right now how many stories I will able to do doing. Since I only have one more stories to be post on upload on my channel, after that I don't have any more stories to be uploaded since I haven't been working on anymore or have been worked on any new last stories except for a few non-Malaponi last stories that Travis had asked me to do, which I had been gladly to be doing. But here's also another a smaller update, which I have been mentioned previously before, that any last stories of my channel will now be 100% MLP based stories. In rare occasions, there will be non-Malaponi last stories. They can actually like be Pokemon or any others, but those stories will be my own choice. But if other people had any other love stories that is non-Malapony, I will gladly take an application. I will gladly to be looking up, look at to decide if the story will be if there's something I would do, or put on hold for time being. Since it depends, of course, from what type of story it is. If the someone had asked me to do maybe like an horror story, like based from a horror game, like you say Resident Evil or zombie game or something like that, no, those game stories are actually in fact not what I prefer not to be able to do. There are in fact other stories I prefer not to be doing though, and that is in fact if anyone asks me to do a story based on Attack of the Titans, or what is the recently anime that has been known here. That is the thing I had even seen. I had even seen that show. Or if anyone would ask me to do other anime stories, it depends. For course, for which type of anime, if I see it as suitable to be as a love story, or if I think it's worth my time to do as a love story or true friend story. But for then, but since I didn't mean this though, from now on, 100% of all love stories and true friend stories will be MLP based one. Even despite there might be even several non-Melopony stories that I plan to do, because I have in fact several Pokemon stories that I have been wanting to doing. So right from that, and of course this last story update I have been have been telling you all about now, that since from now on I won't be able to do any more, won't be able to post any more last stories for at least the time being. Exactly how long? Well, that's hard to tell. Maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, but not until but it won't even take a month. No, because I won't be able to have at least maybe half a dozen or maybe 12 stories at a time to be ready, since my girlfriend is the one who puts the dates when the stories to be uploaded. Since she is the one to take care of that schedule and I take care of the stories. Trust me, I would have been lost without her help. But I just want to have to be informing everyone about this particular update from my love stories. If I was unaware about that, I only had maybe two or maybe three stories that didn't have been uploaded, I would have been worked on new stories immediately rather than making this the video. But sadly though, some things don't quite came to my mind until it's quite too late. But I can tell there are many stories that need planned to be worked on for next couple of days. Hopefully, and I mean hopefully, I will have at least maybe half a dozen, maybe six more stories, or perhaps even 12 stories by end of the weekend, or maybe at early next week. but I cannot say exactly how many stories I will be able to do or how many stories there will be done for next couple of days during next week. It depends. But I just want to be able to do the stories I have planned and some of the stories you had asked me to do. But even you had asked me to ask you to make your story to be maybe as perhaps in some maybe 20 minutes long. And also those two stories that have been asked to do, like Fluttershy vs. Celestia, Rainbow, Cadence, those stories will be put on hold at least for time being. I don't have the time to focus on those stories if they will be long one. Since Fluttershy with Celestia had been asked to be at least 1 hour and 15 minutes long. Normally that wouldn't take me any particular long if I don't use if I don't if I don't if I don't be online. So maybe then. But those two stories will be put on hold for at least maybe a couple of weeks, maybe about a week or so. Depends, of course, how much time I will have been, how much time I spend on other stories. But I cannot say for certainty how long those stories will be, and I won't be able to tell you exactly which stories that we will be. Even if I did knew, I still wouldn't even tell anyone about those stories who which they will be, because that will be a secret. Or at least to me though, the only person I probably would tell is my girlfriend. After all, she's the one who makes me help me with the schedule. But for the time being, those stories will be post hold and among others until I have a, at least a number of stories that have been made. I know that many still wonders, when will my story be made? Can you make my next story? Please, can you do it? Please, please, please. But there's a question. And also the answer is yes, but not for now. I only be focused on the stories that I want to do. At least I want to be able to do some stories that to be keeping my folder for at least of stories that I've been doing. I hoping to have at least a large number of stories that have been made by early next week. Otherwise, I would be in a big, deep hole if I hadn't even done the stories long ago before even this problem had occurred. But I have to admit, though, if I had checked those stories in my folder weeks ago, I would have made new stories a long time before even this problem had even happened, though. But yeah, that is all I want to inform. Those stories will be done, and even decide from which stories to be made is my own choice. And also that all the other stories now will be 100% MLP based love stories and true friend, with occasions on normal opponent stories, of course, if my own choice. If you had asked me to do if any normal opponent story, I will take that into consideration and think and just let you know if the story will be done or not. At least that is something I would ask for. But anyways, that is all I want to tell you everyone about this particular update about my current problem, or at least the current situation of the last stories. That if you haven't recognized or noticed, there aren't any other love stories being posted for the next couple of days. But another thing, if there will be any love stories being posted on my channel, it is most likely because some other requests from Travis. And that is all I want to say though. And I do hope that everyone else is staying safe and during this crisis going on. Since I am staying safe as best as I can, and I will take the vaccine quite soon. And but yeah, that's all I want to say. And not a smaller update for just in case, since I will reach 7,000 subscribers within a point soon, since last time I checked were about 6,940. I had even originally planned first to do a Q&A video if I would reach 7,000 subscribers. That might be post-hold even much longer on, because since I will mainly to focus on the stories I've been working on. But that Q&A video might be perhaps taking place in 7,100 subscribers or earlier. It depends. Anyways, that's all I want to say. And like I said, I hope everyone understands and stay safe. And as always, though, subscribe, leave a comment, and as always, this is Swish Diablo over and out.